All right, this is what's becoming a little bit of a rare episode of the Founders Pack Wolfcast. We obviously write a lot of articles about Y Combinator, Techstars, hustle fund founders and investors, and anyone investing in scalable things. Our friend Arkady from RPV is back. And first of all,
Hey,
Arkady, thank you for joining.
thank you for asking me to join. Happy to be here.
Yeah, I am too. I really enjoy our discussions, and I think what I wanted to do was touch back on because you're a little bit unique, I think, from other people that I've met as far as what you're focused on investing in. And just for people that don't know, RPV Ventures focuses on what's known as deep tech, right? And if you were to kind of like summarize that, what is deep tech and why are you investing?
We qualify companies that have multiple different scientific areas and that build on the intersections of these areas as deep tech. We always like to see a little bit of an option to protect their IP. This is also very important for deep tech. You cannot just do something that has no protection options. So that should be also qualifier for deep tech. Something that is based on breakthrough science would be the easiest way to call something a deep tech. If you're building some new neuromodulation or a fusion engine, that's definitely deep tech.
So I guess, one question that comes to mind when we talked about this was, if there's 8 million scientists in the world and 8 million Andrew Tate followers, are they all following Andrew Tate? And is Andrew Tate a scientist?
Oh, of course not.
Would you say that that's proof or a correlation or a coincidence?
I would say that these things have nothing in common whatsoever. And
Nothing in
we should
common.
have a whole different episode about why correlation doesn't mean causation. My favorite one is like there was an old internet meme about how the number of pirates is negatively correlated with the amount of IT startups. And I mean by pirates, I don't mean digital. I mean like raw ones with a wooden leg and whatnot.
Actual
So
pirates like taking over
yeah,
ships. Right?
exactly. So
Booty and buried
the
treasure.
right, well, Caribbeans are all with they're full of hotels now. You cannot really bury a lot of treasure there. Of course, these things have nothing in common, but I think it's a good indication of the fact that our society in general undervalues scientists and undervalues hard intellectual labor. In my opinion, this is not fair and this is not very strategic for us as a society in general. We should probably favor teachers, scientists, doctors, and other people that actually advance our humanity forward a little bit more than media influencers and, God forbid, lawyers. I love lawyers, don't get me wrong. It's just
Nobody loves lawyers. I mean, you love a
my
lawyer.
wife is my wife is a
One
lawyer.
lawyer.
Okay, that's I think loving one lawyer is as much of a capacity of love for lawyers you can get
Okay,
in your
that's enough.
single
There's room
lifetime.
for one in your heart.
Exactly.
So we've talked about this before where individually those types of roles should be very, very important, right? Um, but I think generally part of it is one, they're disconnected from everyday society. So that's one issue. There's a lot of ivory towering of those types of roles,
Absolutely.
right? And they're also in structures that are increasingly not trusted necessarily because there's issue with replication of results, there's issue of peer review. All these structures that were meant to protect it have actually reinforced bad behavior, bad incentives. So the flip side is, how does you and other people investing in deep tech, because deep tech to me is a lot riskier, as we discussed, than say SaaS,
True.
right?
For sure.
So,
100%.
so you're pushing a boundary where it's less clear if this is going to turn out into something. How does bringing investment and more money into those types of, whether it's research or resulting firm, like how does that help?
I would give you two examples that are from a very different angle, and then we'll get back to your question. I think that the Big Bang Theory made being geek kind of sexy and attractive for general population. And the whole batch of startups that got really popular in 2000s and early 2000s and 2010 and later made the startup geeky nerds who are developers also sexy and favorable in the eyes of society. Both of these examples are foundational and fundamental stones to what I'm going to say now. I think that if we invest in deep tech startups that bring real value to human beings, that make a lot of money for their founders, then in the next 10 to 15 years, we will see deep tech as more sexy. More people will start joining that. More people will be building these startups as opposed to another SaaS, fintech, crypto application or another wallet. So the more people are successful in this industry today, the more people will come in the future. And this is how we want to largen the scope of it. Being scientist is sexy. Being a scientific entrepreneur is even sexier. That's my angle here.
So we're gonna have to do a lot of makeovers on these people because they are not necessarily charismatic, compelling individuals to talk to.
They definitely cannot pull off your short.
Well,
That's
not
for
many
sure.
people can, but
Yeah, that's true. I wouldn't even try to. I wouldn't dare.
well, you could. I'll get you one. Well, I won't get you one. This one's a little expensive. I'll get you one that looks like this.
Yeah, get me a cheap knockoff
Yeah, I'm
version
not
of
gonna
that
get
shirt.
you. I'm not gonna get you the Gucci, whatever this was. I don't know.
The point
Tokyo
is,
Drift. I don't
you're
know.
right. The social skills are maybe not the most. I would probably argue that the social skills, the better your social skills are in high school, the smaller your chances you're going to end up in some hard science, the bigger your chances you're going to end up in fraternity and, chucks, and all of that, rather than studying quantum mechanics alone in your dorm. But I think that scientists should work on their social skills, and we as an industry should work on making this whole industry more mainstream, much easier to join and much easier to succeed in.
So, the investments you make then in things that are built around deep tech, how do you make sure it's not, bleeding edge to leading edge? Like it's not bleeding edge, but it is leading edge, and that it's actually not something that's complete corruption, like not something that's just not fake, right? Because and then I'll ask you actually, the other question is LK99. How do you really like, LK99, is that real? It seems like it's not, but
And
how
I
did that
thought
get out there? Like
I thought Andrew Tate was the lowest point of our discussion, but no, you had to bring LK99.
well, I guess so, that it's kind of relevant to what you're doing, right? Because the hype around LK99, and for people that don't know, what is LK99?
The room superconductivity thing, the room temperature superconductor, which was not replicated by anyone, and it looked like a hoax from day one. Just to give you a feeling of how we reacted, you know that we post a lot on LinkedIn about science and scientific breakthroughs. By the
Yeah.
way, we're going to launch a newsletter called Quarks of Singularity
Oh, good.
as soon as this week. When we were talking to my co-founder about even talking about LK99 or maybe having a disambiguation post, something that will take the reveals of, both of us decided that it's not even worth paying attention to. There have been advancements in room temperature superconductors a couple of years ago published in Nature of all things, which didn't work out, working on pretty much the same principles as LK99, and this one was published just on arXiv. That is, pretty much anyone can publish pretty much anything there. There is no serious review on arXiv, and I can publish something about pink shorts and how they improve your charisma by 2.5% or 25%. I don't know. So LK99 is not something that we even paid serious attention to. It was not real. It didn't look real from day one. There are lots of questions even to how abstract is written. And then when you start digging through the article itself, it becomes clear that it's empty at essence.
So I mean, I think that's perfect illustration of you as a person that's investing in the space. You were able to assess this is real or not to protect yourself and protect your investment, obviously.
It was very quick and simple to do that as well. We have seen cases that would be way more difficult, and we have seen cases when everything checks out. Like you go one question by another, like 15 questions and everything is good. Couple of reviewers would tell you, green light, go ahead with that. we have one small thing that you should double check. And if then, you have 3 or 4 reviewers all point down to the small thing, that's when the red light goes on. You're like, what's up with this part? You start digging deeper. In one of our assessments, we have found out that everything is fantastic. And this is probably the best approach to do fusion reaction, fusion energy in general, better than anything that exists right now. There is one small caveat. You need a laser that is 100 times more powerful than anything in existence. Just a tiny problem to figure out, maybe 20 billion bucks, just one tiny problem, but it's going to take you 10 years to figure it out.
So
And
it's possible,
billions
but
and billions of dollars. Exactly. So sometimes you see it quick, like with LK99. Sometimes you need to do a proper peer review process. Not the one that you've mentioned earlier on today, but the actual peer review when you really try to dig deep. You're not looking for, tit for tat, a favor. If I do say something nice about you, you will cite my article, but an actual hardcore review.
so is, because what I'm thinking, and I've talked to you about this before, it's like, okay, great, you might have really smart, capable people that are locked up in these ivory tower self-washing systems. And the flip side is, how would you jailbreak them? And is peer review in private hands more valid, or are there still bad incentives? So if there were independent organizations like, well, use Tesla, for example, or use RPV, or use anyone that's looking at, an area of deep tech, is it better in those hands because it either becomes something practical or it doesn't? Or should we remain in these other, structures that are outside of that?
I think essentially,
is one more valid than the other?
One of the core principles of science is that you should not have any bias going into it, right? Whether you run an experiment, pose a hypothesis, or do a peer review, your only mission should be finding truth. Nothing else matters. So whenever you start having these kind of hidden agendas, or maybe not even so hidden agendas, just second or third grade agendas, that's when you get into the world of trouble. That's when I think you should not be, that's when you should get really worried. Whether it's done by us or by Tesla or by nature or by some university or by a group of scientists who are independent, as long as there is no hidden agenda, there is no bias in their research, is going to work. For different industries, it's going to be a different approach. For different fields of study, you want to look at different approach. Something like political science or economic science could be even more prone to that because there is no math and there is no hardcore models to back it up. It's very hard to break physics law. As old saying goes, when you break the law of society, you go to jail. When you break the law of heaven, you go to hell. When you break the laws of physics, you go to Sweden and get a Nobel Prize.
Wait,
and
okay. I will mention that to the Swedish person behind me, by the way. Let's see what their response is. There is one. Okay. So I don't want to be, I want to be respectful of your time and
Thank
where
you.
this is going. So if we summarize it, do you want to see more RPVs, or do you just want RPV
Yes.
to be okay?
Absolutely. I want to see more people who do independent thinking and do independent verification. I want to see more entrepreneurs who try to do something that's bullish and sounds crazy, and maybe somebody will do an LK99 that will work, that would not be a scam. Somebody will at some point build a fusion engine, and so on and so forth. And if we want us as a humanities to succeed, I need more firms in deep tech who have expertise, more people, especially in genetics and biology, to do the same thing as we do, better than what we do, faster than what we do. Any competition will make us better and stronger.
That makes sense. So then what is next for you? Like, what areas are you excited about? Is fusion possible, by the way?
Yeah, absolutely.
Is it?
Theoretically,
Okay.
for
Theoretically,
sure.
yeah, but
Theoretically, for sure.
what's the thing holding it back from being an actual reality?
Depending on what kind of construction you select. In one case, the one that I like the most, PB11 reaction, the isotope of boron and proton that generate 3 alpha particles. This one needs a laser. Lots of older designs would need some way to deal with the free-flying neutrons. It's high energy particle that you cannot stop with electromagnetic field. Some of them have plasma contamination issues and so on and so forth. fusion seems to be getting more and more real.
Okay.
There is an old joke that is always 20 years away, was 20 years away in the 60s and still 20 years away, but I think it's maybe 15 years away now, not 20.
I mean, that's encouraging. If it's allowed to be ever come out, right? Like,
Oh, we're not going to go into the world of conspiracy theories
but
and
that's legitimately a threat to everything,
yes, if these
right?
things exist, it is
Totally.
legitimately a threat to everything.
Because the cost goes to zero
Yeah, but then
and the
the
control.
cost of you lose control. That's more important in that case.
Yeah,
Yeah,
interesting.
controlling the means of production, as Marx and Lenin said back in the days. But again,
There you go, right?
my mission today is to focus on scientific advancements
Interesting.
and
Yeah,
making
well,
sure
and
that we bring
that
it.
was the threat of LK99, right? Which is this changes everything because it becomes it's you have so many possibilities that come out of having superconducting materials that are especially room
Very true.
temperature, right? Like it just changes the equation on
On a
all
lot of
elect.
industries.
Yeah, it's like here's a little bit of electricity, and this changes runs a factory, or this makes a vehicle go, or
Not necessarily exactly like that, but yeah, it changes a lot of equations. It changes a lot of power dynamics within the existing industries. And for I wish LK99 was stolen and hidden by some Illuminatis under
no, it
the
just doesn't seem physically.
Vatican,
Oh my God, no.
whatever.
I,
Like
why?
I wish it was some kind of conspiracy theory. It's not. And I think that anyone who actually will get their hand on something like fusion will have such a leverage that they will be able to crush any conspiracy theory people, and they will make this thing live, will go
Well,
available to
yeah, I mean,
humanity.
the reality is it is a threat to every other type of power generation there is.
Absolutely,
It
100%.
changed, it also does open up crazy possibilities for everything from travel to powering cities to cars to whatever, right? Like it's
The only way forward from the existing socioeconomic system that we have is to post-material society, and the main predicament of post-material society is abundant and free energy. Because if you have abundant and free energy, you can produce pretty much anything in pretty much any amount that is required. So lots of things lose their value, and the material values just go away. If you can feed everyone and you can get clothing for everyone and house and a car for everybody, then people will start thinking about more important stuff, in my opinion. And moving to post-material society is important. It's impossible without fusion, in my opinion.
that makes sense. I mean, we're pretty abundant and we have false scarcity in a bunch of areas, right? People can get their fingers mucked up in it, but I mean, it definitely like either one of those would change the game. And the fusion one
Mhm.
sounds realistic. Is there anything else that you're really excited about that's a breakthrough that you think's like changing everything right now that you are following or investing in?
We see a lot of stuff happening on neuromodulation side, how to how to heal the brain through different non-invasive types of therapy. So no need to drill a skull or something like that. Um, all of them are pretty early. I would say all of them are like lab and preclinical trials, but a lot of them show promises. Anything from Alzheimer to anxiety, from long COVID to addiction. Different companies are trying to handle these things right now, and it can be the way to a very healthy nation and a very healthy civilization in general.
I love it. I mean, those are all exciting areas for sure. And you might have to go start your own country, Arkady.
Way too early for that, but
Way too early.
maybe,
One day you might be like,
maybe.
what was that movie where was it Contact? And John Hurt lived on the space station going around to prolong it to stay away from everybody because he was
Well,
that's Arkady.
I can be a manager of your space station, Michael. Given
All
your
right.
affection with real estate, why not diversify into real estate in
Space real
space?
estate, there's infinite,
Mhm. Exactly.
but then it's also kind of free. But well, Arkady, I want to make sure that
Thank you very
we
much, Mike.
connect again. Thank you so much. It's always very interesting talking to you. And is there anything that you how you want people to get in touch with you or that you want to promote?
Follow us on LinkedIn. You will see a lot of scientific and geeky content, and I hope you like it. I hope you like it.
And you got the new newsletters, so we'll have to coordinate that and make sure that we do something cross promotion. If you're doing, I don't know if you're doing,
Absolutely.
are you building it on Beehive or
On Substack.
Substack? Okay, if you do it on Beehive, then we can cross promote you easily. But if not, we'll figure it out.
We'll find a way
Yeah, we'll
for
figure a
sure.
way. Awesome. Thank you
Thank you,
so
Mike.
much.